Good morning, everybody. How are you this morning? Just okay. You're awesome. That is true, actually. You are awesome. Can we start with a prayer this morning? Lord God, you know that I am struggling a little bit here this morning. Father, I have so much that I want to communicate here this morning. I ask, Father, that you would, as we are all drinking from the fire hose this morning, as I am putting forward a buffet in the area of calling, that, Lord, there might be something that each person might grab today and hold on today, that their Holy Spirit might just, like was prayed this morning, be like a lightning bolt to some people here this morning. Lord, you know that this is not about me, and this is all about you. In Jesus' name, amen. So, welcome to our series. This is our third installment of our series called Fierce, which is learning how to live an all-out life that matters. Today I want to talk about how to focus more on eternity and less on this really short period that we call our life. Today is going to be a bit of a crash course on calling. I'm going to throw a bunch of things at people today. My heart is that you will just get one or two things. Last week, Clay did a great job of encouraging us to dream big God-sized dreams. If you missed it, you got to go back and listen to it. It was phenomenal. But he really encouraged us that as the Holy Spirit enters into our life, he empowers us to grow, and he also empowers us to help other people to grow. And that as we focus our deck, and as we recognize that we are no longer our old life, that we are made new, that our identity was made new inside of Jesus, that we might better understand who it is that we were originally created to be. And this week I want to talk about the gifts that Jesus gives us. Clay touched on the gifts that the Holy Spirit gives us. I want to talk on the gifts that Jesus gives us this morning to live a fierce life that matters now and for eternity. A life where we recognize that we are absolutely made for more. And I want to talk about what that more is today. I want to start by showing a woodpecker video. Yeah. This little fellow that is up here on the screen, I was walking down 4th Avenue towards my house, and this guy was up on a tree, and literally, like, I was standing here, and he is on the tree there, like 5 feet away. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm watching for a while, watching him work. And I kind of caught myself. I was kind of like an enamored 9-year-old girl watching a high school boy work out. I was just like, oh, wow. Look at that go. I was just amazed at what a phenomenal job it was doing. That it was being who it was that it was created to be. Didn't care that I was watching. And as I was watching, I asked myself, I wonder if some woodpecker, when this little woodpecker was just a chick, I wonder if some woodpecker leaned over into the nest of the little chick and asked them that stupid question that all adults ask little children. I don't know, I don't think that any of the other woodpeckers would have asked young Woody if he asked him this question, because it would seem so stupid a question. But we ask it of our kids all the time. And that is the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? What a stupid question that is. Am I wrong? How many of you have been asked that question? How many of you are dumb like me and have asked that question of other little kids? What a dumb, stupid thing that we would ask our kids. It really just kind of puts an undue pressure on them at a young age when they don't know themselves, and suddenly they got to come up with an answer for you because you've asked them this big lofty question. When I was growing up and somebody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would say, I would like to be a goalie in the NHL in the winter and prime minister in the summer. Well, here's the problem, is that I turned out to be a slightly big-boned, 5'9", portly man with poor eyesight, dyslexia, and a conscience. And so as a teenager, I was kind of disillusioned that I was never going to be what it is that I thought I wanted to be. And I wasn't given the gifts, the abilities, the personality to thrive in politics or to be an NHL goalie. The average height of a goalie in the NHL is over 6'2" tall. The shortest goalie in the NHL is 5'11". I didn't have a chance to be what it is that I wanted to be. But the good news is that we actually do teach our kids that form indicates function. It's actually form that indicates function. We give these. How many of you had one of these or has given one to your kid in the past? You've seen this before. We have these kids and they will look at this and they'll go, oh, a cross doesn't go in a square. Even though I want it to go in a square. No, a cross goes in a cross. Oh, okay. A circle goes in the circle. That the circle belongs in the circle form. That if it wants to be a part of what it is that's going on here, if this triangle wants to be included in what it is that's going on here, the triangle has to be a triangle. Does that make sense? That form equals function. And as a result of this, it leads us, our form also leads us to our place in the world. But what do you want to be when you grow up? That question actually insinuates that you can be what it is that you want to be, even though it may not line up with who it is that you are. I'll be more clear about that. We need to stop trying to be a circle if we're called to be a star. We have to stop conforming to what it is that the world wants or what our selfishness wants and stop making life about what it is that I want, or else I'll never be fulfilled, I'll never be satisfied, I'll never be content. We were called into meaning and purpose and life to the fullest as a result of us being what it is that we're called to be. So please don't settle for what it is that you want to be or want to do unless it lines up with who it is that you are shaped to be. Instead, ask a better question of yourself, and maybe ask a better question of our kids when they get a little bit older and they begin to know themselves just a little bit more, and they begin to know Jesus just a little bit more, and you ask them the question, what is your calling? How are you shaped? How has God made you? What are the gifts that he gave you? What are you called to be? The woodpecker that was up on the wall there, on the screen, man, watching him work, it was like 5 minutes. And then finally I pulled up my phone and realized I should start recording this. 5 minutes, I was just enamored watching him be who it was that he was created to be, watching him do what it is that he was designed to do. It was like poetry in action. It was phenomenal. I know that sounds dumb. I just stand there on the side of the street watching a woodpecker. But it was amazing. And so if the woodpecker knows what it is called to be, why is it that when I ask this question of people, what are you called to do? They don't have an answer for me most of the time. About 50% of the people don't know. They don't know what it is that they're called to do. And so a couple of questions for you this morning. 2 minutes to have a quick discussion with somebody that you're nearby. Number one, why do we spend so much of our time living for us rather than living for eternity? 2, why is so much of our identity tied up in what it is that we do? And 3, what do you want to be when you grow up? How do you like it? 2 minutes, go ahead. Okay, if you can wrap up your conversation. You know, so many of us struggle with our calling, but if we're supposed to be more and more like Jesus, Jesus didn't struggle with his calling. He was actually kind of bold in his statements about his calling. He was blatant. And we don't like it sometimes, but Jesus was absolutely blatant with his calling. He said, I am the way. He said things like, I am one with the Father. He said, I came to seek and save the lost. I am the good shepherd. I am the truth. I am the life. Those were the bold statements that Jesus made. He understood his calling, and he lived out his life expressing love through these callings. That he expressed love through his identity, who it is that he was created to be. He recognized who it is that he was, and then he expressed love through that calling. Therefore, it is paramount for us to understand our calling. In fact, I would go so far as to say that expressing your calling in love is what it is that you were created for. It's the reason that you're still alive. The reason you're taking another breath right now is because your calling is to express love through the gifts that Jesus gave to you. Your calling is to express love through the gifts that Jesus gave to you. That how it is that he shaped you leads you towards how it is that you are supposed to love. And your calling. Nobody in here wants to get to the end of their days and recognize that they wasted their life, that they wasted their time, that they wasted their energy. We want a life of meaning and purpose. We want to, at the end of our days, on our deathbed, go, man, I lived to be exactly who it is that God called me to be. I ran the race. I fought the good fight. I did what it is that I was created to do, and I can die content. Man, it's so important that we get this. How many in here would say that this is a fairly important thing for you? And others of you, how many of you are like, I want to just be really rebellious and go against the rest of the crowd? A little bit. I recognize that although I'm beginning to understand my calling, it's still just, I'm not quite there yet. And that's what it is that I hear in most people. They have a bit of an understanding, but it's just not quite yet. I just need a little more time. I'm almost there. I could get there. Paul, who was an apostolic leader, basically, I'll talk about apostolic in a little bit. He understood how absolutely vital it was that each person understood their calling. In fact, he says this in Ephesians 4, verse 1. He says, therefore, I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, he was in jail at the time as he's saying these words for being a Christian. He says, I beg of you. The King James Version says, beseech. Other translations say, urge. This is super important. He's like, I beg of you, please lead a life worthy of your calling, for you have been called by God. Your calling is to express love through the gifts that Jesus gave you. Jesus echoed this when he gave us our marching orders right before Jesus was imprisoned, right before he was beaten to a pulp and then crucified. His dear friend and follower John records for us what it is that happened, where Jesus says the following. He says, so now I am giving you a new commandment. He says, love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. I'm going to come back to this passage in a little bit. But I want to pause here for a moment before I come back to this passage and make this observation. That the worth of a life is always measured by how much is spent on love. That at the end of the days, at your funeral, the worth of your life will be measured on how much time, how much energy you spent on love. That is what it is that people will talk about you. So the question is now, based on this verse, how should we love like Jesus loved? How did, if he says, a new commandment I give you, love as I have loved you, how is it that Jesus loved then if I'm supposed to love like Jesus loved? How did he love? For those of you with faith, he showed us how to love because he actually implanted in us some gifts that point us and teach us how it is that we are supposed to love as he loved. And therefore shows how our form leads to our function, how it is that we're called to love. Now Jesus, it says in Ephesians 4 verse 7, Paul is continuing on here. He says, Jesus has given each one of us a special gift. Some translations of this say a special gracing, a special empowerment, a special blessing. That he has given each of us a gift. Raise your hand if that means each of us. That means you. Raise your hand if this is you. You belong to the each. All right. He has given each of us a gift. I lost my spot. There it is. Through the generosity of Christ. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here for another 20 minutes. All right. Now, we would probably all agree that a gift is actually something that is meant to be opened up and used, right? When you get a gift, you don't just stare at it and go, oh, look at the wrapping. It's so pretty. I'm just going to stare at it forever. But I do. I'm a moron who last Christmas received a Christmas gift from my buddy down here. And where did she go? They left. Anyways, I received a Christmas gift last year that for 2 months I didn't open it because I was so enamored with how it is that it was decorated. They spent so much time, so much effort, so much love on designing the paper. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it just wrapped it in plain brown paper and then drew all over it encouragements and artwork, and literally it was, I literally, they kept saying, did you open the gift? I'm like, no. They're like, oh, but we want you to open the gift. I'm like, no. The paper is too nice. And so eventually I got like a really fine razor. I just kind of sliced it and I gently slid out the box and then I put it out. It was actually really cool. It was a t-shirt. I probably should have worn it today now that I'm mentioning this. Because the point is that the gift is supposed to be used. Awkward moment. What I'm saying is don't be like me, okay? In fact, I'm going to get you to hand this around, because thank you for that, by the way. You can pass it around, but I want it back, because it actually goes up in my closet as a reminder. Here's what my point was supposed to be. That ultimately, a gift that you are given is supposed to be opened and used. Don't get sucked into just staring at the box, at the wrapping. Because the problem is so many of us just get to looking at ourselves and looking at who it is that we are, but we don't actually do anything with that. We don't actually move towards function. We like looking at the form, but moving towards function is something that we are a little bit slow with. And I was pastored by this gift. I was shepherded by this gift. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means in a little bit. Because 4 sentences down, Paul continues to tell us actually what these gifts are that he has given each of us. He says, now these are the gifts that Christ gave the church, that he gave to believers. The apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and the teachers. Their responsibility is to equip God's people for his work and build up the church, the body of Christ. This will continue until we all come to such unity in our faith and knowledge of God's Son that we'll be mature in the Lord, measuring up to the full and complete standard of Christ. Measuring up to the full and complete standard of Christ. Holy mackerel, these 5 gifts are important. Because these gifts are the way that Jesus loved. These gifts are the fullness of Jesus. Jesus was these 5 things in perfection. He was apostolic. Okay? An apostolic is just a messenger, someone who is sent to envision what could be, who people could be, and to advance his kingdom, to advance people on the call that God has on their life, to advance. The apostolic operates inside of that function, an advancing movement that would change the then known world. The prophetic, these are the folks that are called to encourage and exhort. Encourage just means build up. Exhort just means help heal, help empower to be better. And to out of a place of that, he pointed the way. And that's what it is that the prophetic does. It points the way that we're supposed to go. Then he's talking about the evangelistic. Now, Jesus did not just bring good news, he was the good news. So he's got a bit of an advantage over us. But these folks excite and invite. That's what it is that they're about. They're all about exciting people about what it is that makes them excited, and then inviting them out to share in that. They are people who draw people to them. And then he talks about the, what's next? Teaching, sharing, shepherding. There we go. Shepherding, these are also called the pastors. This is one of two times that the word pastor is used in the Bible. Shepherd, pastor, used interchangeably. These are the folks who just love to care and connect people. They care for people. They're mercy motivated. They love on people. They shepherd people. They just love people where it is that they're at. They are super concerned about making sure that everybody is okay, that there isn't any offense, and that everything's all right in the world. They want to care and they want to connect one another. And then the teacher. The teacher is called to share and prepare. The teacher loves digging into God's word or something else and then help distill down things that are complex and help people understand them in a way that is actually quite simple. But not only just understand, they also love to help them apply. They help. The Bible says that the word of God is a lamp to our feet. And they love seeing the light go on in people's eyes, these teachers. It's kind of like this, and I can't believe I'm drawing again after a horrible adventure the other night where I was trying to draw a dog that was being pet, and it turned out to be something quite horrible. But let's say that I am just going to draw a very simple kind of example. Let's say this is Jesus, okay? He's got some arms out here. This is as simple as I get so that I don't mess everybody up really badly. All right? Can we agree that this is the absolute spitting image of Jesus? Okay. Fair enough. The thing that I love about this is, first of all, let's talk about the apostolic, the A. The apostolic, expanding, extending, vision, they are focused ahead. The apostolic are focused on making sure that things are moving forward. All right? The eyes are pointed on the prize. Ooh, now Jesus is really beady-eyed. I should not have done that. Sorry, Jesus. That's better? Okay, just focus on the apostolic. Going forward, okay? The prophetic, let's just say this little halo thing. The prophetic, their focus is both up and down. That they're both interested in hearing what it is that God has to say and then taking that and pointing the way for the body. All right? That's what it is. Jesus was great. He said, I am the way. He pointed people in the way. Okay? Then we got the evangelists, and their kind of focus is like this. Their focus is they just want to give everybody a big hug into the body. That they go out and they hug other people into the body of God. They are others focused. They love hanging out with people who are not going to church because church people are boring. And so they're all about the unchurched people because they get excited about making sure that they're excited that they're invited into what it is that's going on. Then we've got the pastors. These folks are super important. The P for pastor, they are the heart of the church. Their kind of focus goes like this. It kind of goes like this. They're like spokes of a wheel. Their heart is to make sure that people are unified. They're the glue that hold everybody together. The pastoral are all about making sure that people are connected and they're cared for. And then we got the teachers down here. Which I better put that all the way down. We got the teachers down here. The teachers, they keep us grounded. Their role is to make sure that we just don't go a little bit nuts, that we actually are true to what it is that is in the Bible. The teachers, they are a lamp. They love showing the lamp to our feet. Tom, why are you laughing that hard? It's not that bad. Thank you. That ultimately the apostolic, the prophetic, the evangelists, the shepherds and the teachers, the pastors, that as the, make that an S as well so that we don't get confused. I get confused. That ultimately, when all of these are working together the way that they are supposed to, that this is Jesus. Jesus was the perfect example of all of this. But we heard that God has given each one of us a gift, sometimes maybe even two. You might have two that you specialize in, but one of these is going to be you. Now, it may not be activated yet, you may not fully understand it yet, but you are called to live it out. And so you better figure it out. Or at the end of the days, you're going to be like, oh man, I wasted my life. Now, I told you that I was going to go back to this passage from John that was written by Jesus' follower, where he said, a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. And then he goes on to follows up 3 verses later with this passage that I'm going to read, which is quite long, but track with me, okay? This is John 14. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God, and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you will always be with me where I am. And you know the way to where I'm going. And then poor Thomas, doubting Thomas. It's awful, poor guy. Doubting Tom. No, Lord. We don't know. What are you talking about? We have no idea where you're going, so how can we know the way? And Jesus told him, I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had really known me, you would know who my Father is. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. And Philip said, Lord, could you just show us the Father, and then we'll be satisfied? And Jesus, I'm going to read it exasperated because I would be. Jesus says this, have I been with you all this time, Philip, and yet you still don't know who I am? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. So why are you asking me to show him to you? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words I speak are not my own, but my Father who lives in me does his work through me. Just believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me, or at least believe because of the work that you've seen with your own eyes me do. I tell you the truth, anyone who believes in me will do the same works that I have done. What? Say what? Yeah, that's you. I tell you the truth, anyone who believes in me will do the same works that I have done, and even greater works. Because I am going to be with the Father. You can ask for anything in my name. That's important. And I will do it so that the Son can bring glory to the Father. Yes, ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it. Now, some of you may be thinking, Frank, what the heck does this have to do with gifts? I was tracking with you for a little while there. You were talking about fivefold. We were starting to get it. And then you read this kind of random passage. What's up with that? What I want to do is I want to read it one more time. And this time, I want you to watch as each of these things that Jesus is talking about funnels into one of those fivefold. Are you ready for this? It's a little bit small. You're going to have to squint, but track with me, okay? Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you so that you'll always be with me where I am. And you know the way to where I am going. No, we don't know, Lord. Thomas said, we have no idea where you're going. How can we know him? Jesus told him, I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. If you had really known me, you would know who my Father is. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. Philip says, Lord, just show us the Father. We'll be satisfied. Jesus replied, I have been with you all of this time, caring for you, shepherding you, pastoring you. Philip, and yet you still don't know me? Anybody who has seen me has seen the Father. So why are you asking me to show him to you? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words I speak are not my own, but my Father who lives in me does his work through me. Just believe that I am in the Father and the Father is me, or at least believe because of the work that you've seen me do, applied, taught, but also applied. I tell you the truth, anyone who believes in me will do the same works that I have done, and even greater. Keep going. Because I am going to be with the Father, you can ask for anything in my name, and I will do it, so that the Son can bring glory to the Father. Yes, ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it. if you love me, obey my commandments. Jesus decided to clearly talk about the gifts and then show how in a passage right away how each of those gifts fit into one of those places. And that you are called to be one of these gifts. One of these 5 gifts are tools that God has empowered you with to love. They are your calling. They are what it is that you were created for. Some call them power tools inside of the church, and I am almost out of time. I'm going to skip ahead. If you want to know what the power tools are, ask me. Okay. Now, ultimately, apostolic, these are the folks that envision and advance the prophetic. They encourage and they exhort. The evangelistic, they excite and invite. The shepherds, they care and they connect. The teachers, they share and prepare. And your calling is to love others through the gift that you have been given, wherever it is that you spend your time. Whether it's at work or in your family or in your group or with your neighbors, almost nothing shapes our identity. For some reason, almost nothing shapes our identity more than what it is that we do. And that's why one of the first things that we'll ask people is, so what do you do for a living? What is it that you do? Because so much of who it is that we are is tied into that. And so as a result of that, our answers to this question, there's this irresistible urge to maybe choose a career based solely on which job will help us cultivate the best image that we want to portray to others. But as Christians, our identity is already defined. Clay talked about it last week. Our identity is you are a child of God. What it is that you should be when you grow up is a child. That's who it is that that's what it is that your identity is. We can stop asking people what it is that they want to be. What it is that they're supposed to be is a child of God. And because of Jesus and what it is that he exemplared for us, our calling, one of these gifts, out of a sense of being a child of God, we can also move to doing what it is that we were called to do. That ultimately these gifts can become the expression of our identity rather than the source of our identity. That we are children of God. God who is everything. God who is the creator, the originator of all of us. He is the big cheese, the big kahuna, the King of Kings, right? He's our dad, and he loves us. Be that, and then live out your calling. A goal of this church is to help people find fulfillment by understanding their gifting, understanding their calling, the expression of Jesus' love inside of them, that he wants you to specialize in. And certainly we're supposed to be working on expressing all of the qualities of Jesus. Just because you go, well, I'm kind of evangelistic, and so this whole learning the Bible thing, not for me. Oh no. To be clear, we're supposed to be ideally becoming more like Jesus in all of these, but your calling is one, maybe 2 of these that you are supposed to focus your time, energy, and resources on. None of us are complete copies of Jesus. None of us can be perfect on our own. The great news is that we are called to be a part of the body. You hear this over and over again. Be the part that you are called to be. And then what it is that we will see is, man, we will see you called to a fierce love. A love that changes the world, that changes people, that helps people be the fullness of Christ. That we all need one another being who it is that we are called to be if we are going to be who it is that we are called to be. It takes each of us interdependently working together, being ourselves, not trying to be somebody else, being ourselves, and then we'll see things begin to take off, as it did in the early church. But only you can do what it is that you are supposed to do. And I have to be who it is that I'm called to be and what it is that I'm supposed to do. And each individual becomes unified and focused, and a fierce kind of directional love begins to take place. And this love changes neighborhoods, it changes families, it changes groups, it changes cities. This kind of full-bodied love changes the world. But it has to start with you. It has to start with you understanding how Jesus wants to love through you. What his mark is on you. The gift that he gave you. What is your shape? Do you fit perfectly somewhere? Are you an apostolic star who recognizes that they're a star and they have to fit in and be the apostolic that they were created to be? Or maybe you are the pastoral and you're kind of a trapezoid for some reason. And as a trapezoid, you're going to be a pastoral. Is it pastoral that I'm talking about right now? Shepherding, thank you. Who cares and connects people and makes sure that people are connected inside of the body. I don't know what it is that you are called to be, but you better figure this out. And we'll help you. This church and the next steps that we have put out for folks encourage people to grow deeper. Encourage people to better understand their calling. Be who it is that God has called you to be. Then grow, heal, be equipped to do what it is that you're called to do. Understand your calling. And then we'll help you understand your Jesus calling. But you got to be moving towards the steps. It starts with being. Then it's growing. And then it's going. Does that make sense? I don't know what it is that jumps out to you here, but if you're a Jesus follower, please figure this out. It's what you were created to do. Lord Jesus, thank you for these people. I thank you, Lord, that you were speaking and that there is at least something that stood out to people. Lord, help each person here understand their calling. But before they understand their calling, help them understand that they need to be first. That they have to be a child of God, that it all starts with that. That Jesus, this is all about relationship and us getting to know you a little bit better. You were sent to this world, you lived a perfect life and showed us the way, and then you were killed to pay the price for our stupid choices. And maybe you haven't invited Jesus into your life before. Can I just encourage you this morning to, as best as you can, say, Jesus, be leader in my life. Come into my heart. Make me new again. Help me understand who it is that I am called to be. That I am loved by you just as I am, where I am, first and foremost. And that as a result of that understanding our full identity in Jesus, that we might become more like Jesus. That we might take on some of his gifting. That we might walk into the calling, walk into what it is that you created us for. Father, give us wisdom. Give us eyes to see how it is that our form leads us into our function. And how it is that we are called to love this world with a fierce love. In Jesus' name, amen.